Welcome to a captivating journey of mystery and intrigue. In this video, we delve into two incredible tales, the chilling demon of Denver and the enigmatic, mysterious rainfalls. Join me as I unravel these stories, transporting you to a realm of suspense and wonder. Let's begin. Mysterious Skyfall. Unusual objects descend from above. On February 11, 1859, several residents of a town in Britain witnessed fish raining down from the heavens. According to one witness, a certain John Lewis, it was a typical day. Lewis was simply taking a walk outside when out of nowhere, fish began to fall. It happened so fast. The bewildered man hardly knew what to do. Squirming, living fish fell right down the back of his shirt and even landed on the brim of his hat. John's wife is said to have witnessed the whole thing, along with many of their neighbors. Some of the fallen fish were even collected and later delivered to the British Museum to be studied. The fish were found to be normal minnows and sticklebacks. Besides classifying the type of fish brought in, British officials did not take the incident seriously. In the end, they suggested that someone had played a prank on Mr. Lewis by simply tossing a bucket full of fish on his head. But even the casual observer would realize that such a feat wasn't possible. Mr. Lewis was out in an open field and in full view of neighbors, who all witnessed the fish come down from the skies, not tossed from a bucket. The folks down at the British Museum probably just couldn't think of any reason for the event, so they just slapped on the only explanation that made sense to them. Reminiscent of the way in which the U.S. government attempted to explain away credible UFO reports as swamp gas, it seemed that British investigators just came up with whatever explanation came to mind, even if it didn't match up with what had actually occurred. If such a thing happened today, the most likely explanation would probably be that it was a freak accident, and the fish had perhaps fallen out of a plane. But back in 1851, of course, there were no planes. Another explanation for such things, however, has been that perhaps a powerful tornado emerged from somewhere nearby and carried the fish aloft before they dropped to the ground some distance away. Perhaps such a thing is possible, but in the end, this explanation seems just as unlikely as all the others. In the meantime, similar accounts have occurred through the years, with everything from falling fish to raining frogs and all manner of other life forms. There have also been accounts of falling snakes. Yes, if fish and frogs weren't bad enough, snakes have been known to rain down on unsuspecting bystanders. Such an incident was documented in Memphis, Tennessee in 1887. Locals were just getting out of church when, to their horror, snakes began to fall out of the clear blue sky. And not just any snakes, mind you. These snakes seemed to primarily consist of venomous rattlesnakes and copperheads. The snakes came down without notice, ready to land on parting churchgoers, and in at least one case, one even landed on a horse's neck. As the snake curled up around the startled horse's neck, the terrified rider nearly fell right off. Most of the snakes hit the ground running and are said to have slithered away in all directions. Perhaps one of the weirder aspects of the story is how snakes could survive such a fall in the first place. Snakes are indeed known to survive falls from high tree branches, but this account of snakes dropping out of the clear blue sky seems to really push incredulity. Another odd falling event occurred in 1961, when a construction crew based out of Shreveport, Louisiana, was suddenly bombarded by green peaches dropping from the sky. According to them, the fruit came out of nowhere. Yet, by the early 1960s, investigators had what they thought was a ready-made explanation for the oddity. They insisted that a crate of peaches must have fallen from a plane. A simple enough explanation, but it certainly doesn't account for all the reports of falling objects prior to the airplane's invention. In more recent times, even odder things have been witnessed dropping from the skies. In 2001, India, for example, was plagued with bouts of what has been described as blood-red rain. Perhaps the eeriest thing about the blood-red rain in India was that folks on the ground actually claimed to have heard a sonic boom just before the blood-red rain dropped on them from above. This aspect of the Indian case has led some to come up with far-fetched theories, such as government experimentation, or even notions of visiting extraterrestrial spacecraft, dumping biological material on Earth. Even if someone were to entertain such a possibility, one would have to ask why. Was it an accidental drop? An experiment? A bioweapon? Or something even more insidious? A couple of decades later, in 2018, the Siberian landscape of Russia had its own biological scare when it was temporarily coated with thick, blood-red raindrops. Stunned onlookers in a Siberian parking lot gaped as the pavement was covered with the bloody rain and cars began to drip with what appeared to be a meaty red slime. Siberian officials tried to explain the matter away as being due to red oxide compounds from a nearby factory being sent aloft by the wind, and then coming back down as rusty, red-colored rain. But the locals are not entirely convinced. Such things are indeed stunning, and as much as the speculation abounds, no proper explanation has yet emerged. Before moving forward to our upcoming story, kindly subscribe to this channel and hit notification bell. This way, you'll receive alerts whenever we upload new videos here. With that said, let's now proceed to the following story without any further delay. When Dover encountered the demon, Dover, Massachusetts, is a tranquil haven barely 15 miles from Boston. With a population of around 6,000, this town rarely experiences any significant excitement. However, on the evening of April 21st, 1977, William Bartlett, a local teenager, was cruising the town's streets in his Volkswagen Beetle, accompanied by his friends, Andy and Mike. Though Massachusetts often grapples with clouds and dense fogs, this particular night boasted clear visibility. Consequently, William's composure was profoundly rattled when he chanced upon a sight that defied logic. Despite playful taunts suggesting otherwise, William attested to his sobriety at the time, admitting only to having smoked a joint earlier in the day. He adamantly insisted that what unfolded before him that night was not a mere hallucination. So, what exactly did William witness? As the clock neared 10:30 p.m., William and his companions cruised down a county road. At that moment, he directed his gaze to a nearby field, where he discerned a peculiar movement. Initially mistaking the creature for a peculiar dog investigating a low wall of stones, William's perception shifted upon closer inspection. The figure, unlike any canine, appeared as a diminutive humanoid entity with an oversized head and spindly limbs. Startled by the oncoming headlights, the creature pivoted to face William and their eyes locked. The creature's standout feature was its strikingly large, round eyes, emitting an eerie orange glow. Yet, aside from these luminescent orbs, its facial details remained shrouded. Devoid of apparent mouth, ears, or nose, the creature's shadowy countenance remained an enigma. What struck William most profoundly, aside from the creature's oddity, was its emaciated form, a gigantic head perched atop an impossibly slender neck. The entity's hairless, sleek exterior glistened, resembling a freshly emerged shark from the depths. This creature, it seemed, was no ordinary barnyard inhabitant. Paralyzed by astonishment, William veered through an adjacent intersection, fleeing as quickly as his vehicle would allow. In his panic, he shouted at his companions, urging them to verify the unearthly sight. Though Andy and Mike hadn't shared the same encounter, William's terror ignited their curiosity. With youthful enthusiasm, they implored William to turn back, driven by the desire to glimpse the anomaly. Reluctantly, William yielded to their insistence. Upon their return to the initial location, the creature had vanished, much to William's relief. Providentially, William possessed both a sharp memory and budding artistic talent. Swiftly, he transferred the creature's image onto paper, capturing its essence with remarkable clarity. The resultant sketch revealed the creature's shadowy countenance, prominent head, spindly neck, and long limbs, ushering the world's first glimpse of the demon of Dover. However, William's sighting was not an isolated incident. Mere hours after his unsettling encounter, another young local, John Baxter, traversed the desolate country lanes of Devon. Spotting a figure approaching from a distance, John initially assumed it to be a familiar acquaintance named MG. With casual familiarity, he beckoned, "MG, is that you?" The entity offered no response, continuing its approach. John drew nearer, prompting the figure to halt mere feet away. A silence hung between them before John inquired, "Who is that?" Undeterred, he advanced once more. At this juncture, the figure abruptly bolted in the opposite direction. Fueled by an inexplicable urge, John instinctively gave chase, eventually reaching a rise. From this vantage, the moonlight illuminated the figure, unveiling its true form. The realization struck John like a bolt of lightning. It was no human. The creature possessed spindly arms, lengthy fingers, and one hand anchored to a tree for support. Its feet, adorned with curled toes, clung to the stones beneath the tree. The creature's oversized head and slender neck mirrored William's description. Fear enveloped John, compelling him to distance himself cautiously. With the enigmatic entity in his rear view, he flagged down a passing motorist who kindly ferried him home. The chronicle continued on the stroke of midnight, April 22nd, when two other Dover adolescents, Will Taintor and Abby Brabham, embarked on a drive through the town's outskirts. Abby's sharp eyes detected the entity crouched at the roadside, gazing up at them. Its hairless, lanky form, crowned by a sizable head, met her gaze. While Will's observation was fleeting, he too perceived the creature with its distinct features. The teenagers' accounts were met with skepticism from the locals, who dismissed their stories. However, subsequent interviews conducted by investigators revealed the youngsters' profound distress, compelling the investigators to acknowledge the authenticity of their narratives. For these researchers, only 2 scenarios offered resolution to the perplexing chain of events. The teenagers were either manipulated by a local prankster masquerading as the creature, or, more astonishingly, they had truly encountered an extraordinary enigma roaming Dover's backroads. As we conclude this captivating journey, the tales of the enigmatic demon of Denver and the inexplicable, mysterious rainfalls remind us of the boundless mysteries our world holds. Through whispers of darkness and showers of wonder, let's continue to explore the extraordinary and embrace the unknown.